I joke always and I tell the young ones, you can't be an economy rice seller. You shouldn't be, because economy rice sellers, when somebody wants to eat chicken rice, then they want the best chicken rice that's available. And it sounds silly and basic, but it's I think it comes down core. It's as simple as that. The deep specializations matter. And I think it's, as we grow as an international legal hub, and we want to play on the international stage, we need to have an army of specialists. It was a poignant moment. For many years, one would see ourselves sitting in the back rows looking at, looking at all the people that we aspire to for decades in our journey in practice. We're now 3 weeks later, or almost a month later, and finally having a bit of time to calm down and let it sink in a bit. And it's a moment to reflect, really, on what has been the journey, a wonderful journey for the 25 years. And looking forward very much to what the future will bring together with the team and the young ones that we have. I came into practice in 2000, and entering into the profession then, one would look up as a litigator to the giants in the practice, many of whom are today leaders in the courts, leaders in the ministries, and so on and so forth. Not only for their advocacy skills and their talent and their ability, which would wow you, but really, for the manner in which they carry themselves as examples, as beacons of the profession. So as a junior lawyer, I was always enamored, looking up to them, and at each stage of the way, very much striving to not to say that I'll ever come close, but striving to and aspiring to reach those heights. So on a personal level, it was really a moment where I sat back and said, wow, okay, I'm not like anywhere close to these people, right? These examples and the leading lights. But certainly it was an affirmation and a validation of all the hard work for all these people whom we crossed paths with. Each of them contributed to the journey, contributed to the learning, the growth. When I was a young lawyer, at each step of the way, there were opportunities. And these opportunities were presented because whether it's referring a case or suggesting that they speak to Danny, or, and the case landed on your laps, and the advice, the wisdom that's been dispensed over, the last 25 years by different people. These people today, half of them are retired, right? So you are less in contact than before, but it provided an excellent occasion to say, really, thank you. In a lot of ways, the appointment, I hope, is an encouragement to the younger members of the profession at large, that going back to the core old school values, right, of integrity, work, focusing on the work, hard work, and trust and faith, and tapping on each other and operating as a collective rather as individuals, they do work. As a team, to give a bit of context, obviously, the team had we started with 10. We were fortunate to be able to grow it, and but all the young ones took a huge leap of faith. They're talented, they're able, they could be in any firm that they would, choose to be, but they chose to take a leap of faith. So there was a lot of trust and faith put into this small little startup, this project, and ultimately in me. It was a huge responsibility, stressful no less. We wanted to practice in a certain way. And what was that? Really focusing on the core, which is the work itself, the quality of the work, and the being able to focus on also the all largely cross-border nature of the work. I'm a strong proponent of the young lawyers being exposed to international work. And we wanted to focus on that, but do it in a way where it was about the quality. The work speaks for itself first, And also doing it in a way where we have to be agile, creative, right? Tear up the old rule books, open up our minds, brainstorm together as a collective, recognize each other's strengths and weaknesses and tap on that, but all the while staying true to what is right. By the time we set up Setia, we were very much known for certain specializations. Um, and we believe that, I myself and my team, we believe that rather than going broad, we go deep, right? It was about the depth and it was about thought leadership. Because I think the landscape, legal landscape has changed today. Clients are no longer looking necessarily at a large organization, service provider is saying, I can get all the best people there. But instead recognizing that if I want a particular specialist advisor, then I have to look beyond that, because providers like that may or may not be in the large firms, right? They may be in boutiques, they may be international firms, they may be in the universities. And so we very much believed in that. I think there is the traditional way of thinking about advocacy, as we learn from, the bar in England and the silks in England and all that, the cross-examination skills, the art of persuasion, and so on and so forth. I think all that remains core and critical to doing well and being a good litigator. I think what has changed, or maybe not changed, but become uh, more significant as a factor, is that when you think about it, ultimately it's about persuasion, right? And today, the cases, as I said, is far more complex, spans a wide field, right? Wide subject matters. And in order to persuade, I think the lead up to the advocacy and the foundation for that is important, which is not just skills, but knowledge. And when we talk about knowledge, it's not just the siloed subject matter knowledge. It could be anything from the state of geopolitics today, how people operate a family business, the F&B industry, whichever industry you're litigating about, concepts, how human behave, right? And humans behave as joint venture partners in certain ways, as bankers in another way, right? And that knowledge, I think, is critical to good advocacy. We go beyond the courts or the tribunals. We're talking about advocating in a white-collar situation to the Attorney General's office, to the sanctions office in the US, to regulators across the globe, whether New York, MAS, or FINMA in Switzerland. All that is advocacy. Live your life, right? Pursue your passion. Spend the first few years discovering what you're truly interested in. Because when we all go into law school, there are many of us actually, fortunately or unfortunately, choose law by default, right? And you like it enough, but do you like it enough such that you will stay, that brings you all through the years to your old ages? It's not for everyone. And within law itself, there is a span of specialisms and the areas, right? Which again, for the young ones, you don't know whether it's IP or litigation or corporate or particular aspect of corporate or banking and finance. Spend the first few years discovering. And that discovery process is not just a discovery of the areas of interest, but it's a discovery of self, right? What resonates with you? What drives you? Because the practice is hard. Yes, it's rewarding in many ways, but let's be honest, it's hard, it's demanding. There are many nights where, until today, a problem keeps me up at night and I don't sleep well. If I got a hearing before the Court of Appeal, there's no real sleep the night before or the nights before. That's the reality, and therefore it needs to be driven by passion and interest. So let yourself loose, discover,